A lot of things can be labeled a conspiracy theory. There are conspiracies that are happening by the wealthy and powerful. There are conspiracy theories that the media itself pushes, like the Russia collusion. And then, there are insane conspiracy theories about a reptilian Illuminati. When you hear this term conspiracy theory, are there any conspiracy theories that you believe might have been purposely delegitimized, things that might have actually happened, such as if the assassination of John F. Kennedy, RFK, MLK, if any of those assassinations were carried out by the U.S. government? Just overall, are there any quote-unquote conspiracy theories that you think might actually be legitimate?
Oh, there are conspiracies all the time. Go back to Adam Smith, iconic figure. He pointed out, he wrote, in fact, in his famous book, Wealth of Nations, that if you see a few businessmen talking to each other privately, they're probably engaged in a conspiracy against the public. That's the normal kind of conspiracy, when those in power get together to try to achieve their gains, often in secret. Sometimes you find out about it later. So that happens all the time. That's normal life. The term conspiracy theory is used to refer to ideas that the speaker wants to delegitimate, maybe correctly, maybe not correctly. But you just have to take a look at any one of these proposals on its face and forget the name and ask, is it plausible? Is it pointing to something? Is it discovering something?
Well, for instance, I think that the most popular or most widely received conspiracy theories would be that the U.S. government took part in the assassinations of JFK, RFK, and MLK. Do you think that any of those three instances that might actually be the case?
I think it's conceivable in the Martin Luther King case. Maybe not the government, but some element in the government might have had a role in that. In the John F. Kennedy case, it's extremely unlikely. There's a lot of confusion about this. I've written about it. I don't take any stand on who killed John F. Kennedy, maybe the mafia, maybe somebody else. But I think the evidence is overwhelming that it was not a high-level conspiracy with policy consequences. That much we can check by looking at the evidence. What were the policy positions of Kennedy? How were they changed? And the answer is essentially none. A lot of it focuses on a completely misinterpreted national security memorandum, NSM 273, in which Kennedy agreed rather reluctantly with a proposal from McNamara that troops should be withdrawn from Vietnam in another year or so. But what's overlooked is that he added after victory. He insisted that it be after victory. It looked at the time as if the U.S. might have succeeded in its goal of establishing a client regime in South Vietnam. Looked optimistic at the time, and so he said, well, if that's true, okay, then we don't need troops anymore. But that's not a dovish position. Shortly after the assassination, in fact, if he had been interested in withdrawing, there was a perfect opportunity for it just shortly before. In August 1963, the government discovered that the Diem brothers, running South Vietnam, running the client state, were negotiating with the North to try to settle on some peaceful negotiated settlement which would end the war. If Kennedy had been interested in withdrawing, that was a perfect opportunity. Could have taken credit for it, saying, okay, we have peace, war's over, let's come home. What did they do? They decided to overthrow the government and install a super hawkish general. That's shortly before, that's right at the same time. And until the end, he remained one of the more hawkish parts of the government. And if you look at the other cases, I think the same collapses. In the Robert Kennedy case, I think there's questions about what happened, but I don't know of any evidence that the government might have been involved. The King case is somewhat different.